Hello, welcome to my channel, Diane's Sewing Room, and if you're returning, welcome back. So today I thought I'd share with you 10 ways to fit in sewing when you're short of time. So we all have busy lives and sometimes it can be difficult to fit in our hobby around our lives. So I thought I'd share with you my tips for things that I do and things that I used to do when I worked out of the house and now when I work at home. So the reason I'm sharing this is because I was asked recently how I managed to fit everything in around my life, so I thought this might be useful. So let's get on with it straight away with tip number 1. So first of all, we all have those little bits of slow time when we're waiting for a bus, a taxi, or just waiting to leave the house. You could be cooking and stirring or boiling hot water, waiting for something to just finish off cooking. So what you can do in these slow moments is read your pattern. Now this might seem really obvious, but I think quite often people wait until they actually start a sewing job before they actually look through the pattern and get their head around what they need to do and all those little tips and extra bits that we need to know. So use these slow pockets of time to familiarise yourself with the pattern, read through it, make sure that you are fully prepared. Is there anything you don't understand? Are there any sort of techniques and tips that you've not come across before? If there are, make a note of these. And then when you have another little pocket of time, you could go off and research that and make sure that you're fully prepared before you begin. So that's tip number 1. Number 2 is to prep your fabric. So always make sure that when your fabric arrives that you wash it and prep it so that it's all ready to go. Now you could incorporate this into when you're doing your laundry. You could make sure that when you've got your ironing pile on the go that you press your fabric so that it's all ready and pressed. These may seem like little things, but if you wait until you're about to start a sewing project, it all makes it last so much longer, doesn't it? Number 3 is cut out your pattern pieces when you're relaxing in the evening. So this could mean watching your favourite TV show or listening to some music or a podcast. So if you do this then, it's going to be all ready to go. So no pressure to do anything else. So you could just do this on the living room floor, or you could be doing it on the dining room table while you've got your laptop and you're listening to something or some music playing. So this isn't such a big job. And if you do feel it's a big job because there are lots of parts to your pattern, this is another job you could split over a couple of evenings. Just cut out a few pieces and then put it to one side. So no pressure, just a little bit of cutting in the evening while you're relaxing. Number 4, prepare your facings. So quite often we have pieces that need to be interfaced. Prepare your facings, just cut those out, get the interfacing ready, get that pressed on and out of the way. Number 5, break your project down into manageable chunks. So if you only have a few minutes each evening, set aside a task for each of those evenings, and it could be just a few minutes, it could be a few minutes, it could be 10 minutes. And what you need to do is decide, one evening I'm just going to stitch the darts, that's all. Job done. The next it could be sewing the shoulder seams. It could be finishing off the raw edges on a few pieces. Do this each evening as you progress through the week, and if you followed the previous steps and you were all ready to go, you could find that by the end of the week you have a whole garment or project finished. Number 6 is bulk jobs together. So if you have a few projects in mind, you could do all the cutting on one evening and bag it all up. You could get all the seams prepared. Another thing you could do if you're just working on one project is to make sure that you save things like buttonholes to be the last job. So sometimes we're working on something and it might be a job like this. This one hasn't got cuffs on it with buttonholes, but you could have a cuff that you complete and it says now create the buttonhole. But you know that at the end when you finish you're going to have buttonholes to do for the entire front. So don't go off and do that job now. Wait and do them all at the end. So save doing all the buttonholes till you've finished. Maybe do all the seam pressing in one go rather than stopping and starting in between, because often it does say press your seams in between, and sometimes we do need to do that. Where a seam meets a shoulder, for example, we may need to have pressed it. But if it's not going to meet another place where it's essential, Leave these jobs till the end. Don't keep going off and putting your iron on and doing another bit. It can be really time consuming to do so. Bulk the jobs together and complete them this way. Next, number 7, learn how to tack quickly. This can be really useful. Not all fabrics lend themselves well to different types of pins. Sometimes they leave marks behind. Sometimes it's easier and quicker to tack, especially in tricky places and with thick fabrics. So learn how to tack. That can be a job that you do again while you're relaxing and listening to music. You can just practice. Maybe just now and then, just getting your speed up, getting better at this. Also with hand stitching, if that's something you're uncertain of or you're not brilliant at or very quick at, you could just practice that when you have a spare few minutes. Number 8 is something that I do a lot, and that's to make sure that you mark the wrong side of the fabric if both sides of the fabric are very similar. So this can be really tricky sometimes to tell, and sometimes you might find yourself feeling at it. You might have cut your pieces, and then when you come to put it together, because you've taken your pattern piece off, think, oof, I've lost the right side. A good idea, I find, is to either use a coloured pin and put it on that wrong side, because not all sides have markings on. So sometimes you're putting a garment together and you will have lots of markings that you've transferred, but on another piece there might not be any markings at all. So if it's a blank piece like this, make sure you mark that wrong side. Then when you come to put your garment together, you're not wasting precious time holding it up, feeling at it and looking at it in the light. You know clearly that this is the wrong side. So either use a certain coloured chalk, a marking that's just obvious to you that it means wrong side, or like I do, a coloured pin. So that's generally a black pin. And I often do that when the back and front piece are very similar as well. I'll put a pin to remind me that is the back piece if the necklines are similar and there's not much in it. So mark that wrong side. Number 9 might seem really obvious, but don't serge or overlock your seams that won't be showing. So that seems really obvious, but how many times have you been working through a garment and neatening and finishing off all your seams only to come to realise that all of the bodice is enclosed in the lining anyway and you won't be seeing those seams, even if they do fray a little. Obviously, if it's fabric that's going to fray a lot and will really unravel, you do need to finish because they will eventually pull away. But most fabrics, this doesn't happen if you've got a good seam allowance. So anything that's hidden behind a lining is usually fine to just leave. And you can also use pinking shears as well when you're cutting out if this makes it quicker for you. So don't finish those seams unless they really need it and if they're going to be obvious. Number 10, well, there's a couple of things in one here. First of all, make sure that your sewing area is ready to go. Make sure it's tidy, make sure that everything's accessible, and then when you come to sit down, you will be ready to get going. Now, you might say, I've not got a designated sewing space to do this, but that could just mean then that you work through the week with the other little tips, making sure that your fabric's prepped, making sure that you've read through the pattern, making sure everything is in a box maybe, just to hand for when you do get started. And of course, the main thing is to just start. Commit yourself to just 5 minutes a day doing one of these few tips, and before you know it, you'll be flying through your projects. So I hope this was helpful to you today. Please let me know in the comments below if you use any of those tips. I'd love to hear from you. And before I finish, I'm going to share with you what I'm wearing today, because people often ask me, and all my clothes are handmade, so I have started sharing what I'm wearing. Now, I haven't worn this one for a while, and I don't know why, because I do love it. Then when I come to put it on, actually, there was one thing. This little button here. So it's got a loop and a button right here. But the way the button sits, you have to fasten it a certain way so that it doesn't pull out and show. And I think, and that's going to be a job I'm going to do when I take this off later on, I'm going to change the button because it is very small, and I think if it was just a touch bigger it wouldn't be so fiddly when I'm putting it on. But this is from Bird magazine, so I'll show you the copy right here. So this was 2021 and it was January 2021. And I will stand so you can see a little bit better. So it's a blouse, it does just fasten here with the keyhole front, and the back is Peter Pan, but it just meets the same as it does here. It just sort of crosses a little bit. It's got pleats here, which are a nice detail, just underneath the Peter Pan collar. But one of the main things that I love about this are these sleeve details. So you have a panel here, and then it's all ruched and gathered either side into this piece, and then there is another piece here. So they are really nice details on the sleeve. So I will make this again. I didn't make it as soon as I got the magazine, it was after. So I'll show you which one it is. So it is blouse number 106, and there's a little mini one for a child as well, just there, which is really nice. So it's this one here in this main image. So 106, I think there's another image of it as well. No, I think that's the only one. So I'll hold it up again so you can see, just in case you're interested in getting a back copy of that and maybe working on that one. And the fabric, it's cotton fabric, and it's got little trees all over it, and every now and again there's a pastel coloured one. So it feels really nice. It's a really nice blouse. I may think about, would I like to make another one, but I think I maybe need to wear this one more often first of all. I've got lots of clothes to be going at. Well, I hope you enjoyed that today, and let me know, as I said, in the comments. I'll be back soon with some more sewing or sewing tips and advice. Back soon. Bye for now.